everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. We're back on GT Sport and we're back with the daily race C that was on yesterday, driving the single make Toyota 86, a very slippery car and not really ideally suited to my driving style. I tried to get used to it, but I really couldn't get used to this car. I got a little bit better by the end of the day and won a couple of races, got the consistency better and got into like reasonably good lap times. Anyway, let's get along with this race, and you can see we're starting from TV replay cameras. We had issues with this recording again where it was skipping on the PS4 Pro when I'm recording stuff. I don't know what it's causing. I've tried everything. I can fix it, but then it comes back, so you'll see it in a minute. See there, it skips. It's a bit unfortunate. It's done it, so I've had to mix the cameras up quite a bit because it's done it quite a lot on all different angles. Anyway, you can see there we got away really well from the start and put ourselves into P1 in this race. This was our first race in this car at this track, and I didn't really know what to expect with the tyre wear, so you're going to see a lot of sliding and a few errors obviously because it was my first race, but we're in the lead in this race so far. You can see the car ghosting there. It's an issue I came across quite a lot in this race and also in the FIA race, of cars just ghosting randomly. I don't know what's causing it, but it's quite annoying and frustrating because a car just can go straight through you sometimes and gains the place without even overtaking you. It's a little bit annoying, but hopefully they'll have a look at that in the future and maybe an update or something. But you can see there going away, and we've got two white Toyotas right behind us there, and we're pushing quite hard just to try and stay in the lead in this race. You can see everyone seems to have got through that reasonably tidy. There was quite a lot of cars still coming behind us in single file, so it looks like a reasonably clean start to that race. As we try and get the power down, you can see we're running no traction control, no stability control, and no counter steer assist, so the rear wants to step out every now and then. We're trying to put power down. One thing I was doing wrong, I had the brake bias set towards the front with this to try and make it more stable. However, on my last few races I changed it to more rearwards bias. I think I went -3 to the rear, and it 3 towards the rear, and it really did it seemed to help the car a lot, especially at this track obviously with the fast corners, and I was able to get into the 2 minutes 36s in the race, so, and it was also a little bit more consistent because I could take the final bend a lot faster. This corner up here, which we're approaching now, which I was really having issues with this corner. I'd spun out in a couple of races and eventually got it sorted in the last 2 races. But you can see there the Toyota having a little look for this corner. You're going to see how much I was struggling now. I think you might even see it there. See how much I'm sliding, trying to hold on to the car. This was my first race and it took me a while to get used to that corner, I have to admit. Not really. So I don't drive these type of cars very often on GT Sport. I'm more like a fan of the GR4 and GT3 etc, Group 3 cars, but it was still fun. I'm not that impressed with this week's rotation on the daily races. I've been a little bit it's been a bit boring, I think. There's been some races that have been okay, but like today's race in single make, it's basically a single make race in the group the C category, because the 4C Group 4 car is so overpowered, everyone's using it, and I don't really want to race it because it's just going to be a bit boring. Anyway, you can see there we're in P1 still, sliding around, and really I was having a lot of fun in this car, to be fair. I mean, the only issue is it was quite hard to catch the slides as we're going to jump on board with this, and there's a real strange thing that happens here now. You're going to see now as we're going through these corners, we got the Toyota right behind us there. We ran a little bit wide there and had to stay really close to this curb and just hold that inside line, and then we try and get on the power here. We get on the power, okay, but we had a little moment there and I had to correct it, and again correct it, and we ran wide, caught the rear end there, and have a little look behind us now. I have a little look back there, pause it, and there's no one there. I cannot see a car there, and this really confused me because as we're going through this corner now, I heard the little noise. You're going to hear it in a minute. It's like a scraping noise, and I was like, what was that? Because the white Toyota got past me, and then I saw a Toyota behind me that clearly gone off the track, and I think I actually knocked him out. So watch what actually happened. This was just unlucky timing. As I looked back, his car ghosted and went invisible, so I couldn't see him. So when I looked back, I didn't know anyone was behind me, and then as soon as he's at the side of me, his car ungoes, and I had no clue it was there. I know you could say use the radar and stuff, but I wouldn't be looking at the radar there. I wouldn't be looking at any sort of thing to show me there's a car there at that point in the track. My concentration is on the next corner and hitting the apex and the braking point. You shouldn't be looking down at anything like gears and stuff like that at that point. So obviously, luckily, P3 didn't really lose too much time. He's still right behind me. You can see there he's in the slipstream, and we're not too far behind P1. So nothing massively lost. It was just really confusing. It baffled me because I looked behind. I saw the white car go past me, and then I looked behind and there was no one there. and it was because at the exact time I looked behind, his car ghosted, so you couldn't really have predicted that. And as you can see there, it's skipped again. This is something that's really frustrating because it makes it really hard to match up the replay footage with the car behind. That's why I've not got it running at the same time, because they were just becoming always mixed up and it was just really complicated. But hopefully it'll fix itself again. I've tried deleting some footage and resetting the PlayStation 4 and rebuilding the database, and normally that fixes it for a bit, so hopefully it'll fix it again. As you can see there, going through the really fast corner, you can see again that my rear is sliding around. I really didn't have that corner sorted until towards the later races that I did at this track, but they were a bit boring because I won by quite a bit. I think it was like 5 seconds and more stuff. So for this race, this was more entertaining to upload. As you can see there now, P3 is going to have a little look at us. He's in our slipstream. I can see that he's there. I'm going to go defensive over to the right hand side, try and break that slipstream a bit, but he's following us, and then we can't really afford to go back over because I could see that he was going to make a move, so I have to stay down the right hand side to stay defensive. Go into the corner quite deep. He gives me a nudge there, which was a bit naughty. He just clean went into the rear of my car and then got past, and then his car was ghosted at this point, so he was in my car. So I think he got a penalty for that, or whether he already had one, I'm not too sure. The penalty system is really strange at the moment. I would ignore everything that your screen tells you on the bottom about other people getting penalties because it's false information. I noticed it at Monza when Jomas said that he didn't even get a penalty, and it told me that he did. And also in the FIA race last night, someone said they had a clean race, no contact, no penalties, but on my screen it told me they had penalties. So there is some sort of issue going on with the penalty system at the moment where it's telling you false information. So do not rely on that orange bar that tells you what penalty they've got, because it's not true. Sometimes it will be, but a lot of the time recently it's not given correct information, which is really strange. As you can see there now, we're trying to put some pressure on P2 now. After he got past there, I felt like I could maybe have a little look on the inside going into this corner. So you're going to see there, I threw it up the inside, tried to stay really tight to give him the space on the outside, but that is really hard to get on the power then in this car. So he obviously got a cleaner exit, so we're going to have to tuck back into his slipstream there. You can see tucking back into his slipstream and trying to get past that somewhere else now. We had to go at the move. I couldn't really make it work because he had the outside line and he was able to just get on the power a little bit earlier, and then he gets a cleaner exit now. So again, we're going to try and hold on to his slipstream. We're just trying to see if we can find a way past, but this car was so tricky. I didn't feel confident with this car. It was sliding around so much, and it just didn't suit me. But it was good fun, I have to say that. I wanted to obviously race it because you don't have to be competitive to have fun in this game, and we were still reasonably competitive. I think I had the same speed as the leader. It's just that I was making mistakes and getting caught up behind people and stuff. As you can see there, going through to the fast left-hander again. You look how much sliding we've got going on in our car. It's almost drifting through the corners, and I really wasn't feeling comfortable with the way it was handling. But again, going into the chicane, trying to get nice and close to him so we can get a clean exit, but I went a little bit too aggressive into the first part and lost a bit of time. But fortunately, the car behind isn't really close enough to make a move, and I'm still just about in the slipstream of P2 there. As we're gonna, obviously at this point I was aware that he still had a penalty as well, so I was hoping that we'd be able to get past him as we go over the line. With not, these laps were just not really that great. By the last race I was doing 2 minutes 36s and 37 zeros pretty much throughout the whole race. I think by the last few laps I was creeping into the 38s because obviously the tyre wear, but that's the only reason we were going down a bit. But it shows you the difference between obviously practicing it a bit and getting used to the track. As you can see there now, we're trying to hold on to this P2. I was really losing time through this section. It was because of my brake bias. If you have a look there, -3, I changed that to 3 towards the rear and 2 towards the rear. And for the hairpin I changed it to just 1, and it made such a difference in the last few races, because through this first sector I was able to go about 3 tenths faster. As again, P2 runs wide and really got away with that. He was on the grass and somehow he didn't lose control of his car. But I'm going to have a little look down this left hand side now. As you can see, we're side by side. I'm going to have a little look, but there's not much you can do there as long as they hold the inside line. Can't really get past, so I brake early, let him take the line and try and make sure I get a clean exit on the next 2 corners, as you can see there. But we run a little bit wide. I was really trying to get on the power to get back in that slipstream, and I ran a little bit wide. So we've now got P4 very close to us, putting some pressure on, and we're just trying to attack while defend as well. You can see P1's not pulling away. So obviously this was probably a lot of people's first race of the day on this track, and not everyone was really sure about the tyre wear and stuff like that. Some people have probably done it a few times, because I think it was around possibly 10 a.m, half 10, something like maybe 11, I'm not too sure. But you can see that people are not really used to the track. They're sliding around a lot, and we're going to try and see if I'm going to try and see if I can make a move down the straight. As you can see, P2 went a little bit sideways there, but then just as I was getting on the power, my car has a little twitch, and I just lose that little bit of acceleration that I really did need. The gear changes also on this car was confusing me so much. I couldn't work out the best time to change gear. Every time I was changing gear, it felt like it was like bogging down, and I was watching other people and they were pulling away from me sometimes when I was in the slipstream. It was really strange, but you see there, going through the fast corner again, we're trying to take some speed. We did that a little bit better that time and carried quite a good speed all the way through the corner, and again, that's enabled me to get quite close to P2. You can see P1's also coming back towards us, and it's bunching up nicely. This, you can see 4 cars very close together and trying to battle for this win in this race, as we're now just 2 seconds behind the leader, and we're going to go over the line with a 1 minute 37.2, just 2 tenths behind, well, just over 2 tenths behind the fastest lap of the race so far. And you can see there, I think Jay Adams did that on a previous lap, because we seem to gain a bit on this lap, as we've now got a reasonable gap to the guy behind. We go into this corner and we go too aggressive. You can see there, fractionally, literally inches too fast and too wide into that corner, and the front left just went over the curb. And as soon as you get your tyre over that curb onto that green Astro, there's just nothing. You have to just lift, because if you keep the power down, you end up spinning. So I just lifted, tried not to panic too much, and we lost a bit of time, and I did get a bit annoyed at myself. Now you're going to see quite like aggressive driving, because I was really frustrated what I'd just done. I was starting to gaining on them leaders, the P1. You can see how close P2 is to P1 now, but we made a silly error and it cost me a chance to get really close to the leader. But now we've got to try and close back in on P3 and see if we can put some pressure on him, because it was really hard track to overtake this. I found it, because the car's not overly fast, by the time the slipstream started to work, you were coming into the braking zone, so it was real tricky car to get a pass made in this car. And also because the rear was so unstable, especially by like lap 4 or 5, the grip was going on the rear tyres, so when you were trying to get on the power to make, if you were making a move and getting on the power early, you found the rear just sliding about a lot. So it was great fun though, and I did enjoy driving it, although it just didn't really suit me. But that's not really an issue, as you can see there. Now you can see also it looks like P1 is now swapped places. You can see there the guy we was chasing has managed to get ahead of Jay Adams. How he done it, I'm not too sure, whether it was an overtake or a mistake by the leader, going through to these corners again. And P3's ran really wide there, and that's given me a little bit of an opportunity, although he doesn't seem to have lost too much time. He took a really wide line out on the corner and then came back on. It says he has a penalty. I'm not sure if that was a penalty from that incident or from an incident early in the race, but he didn't really lose any of the time through doing that on that corner. So luckily for him, he's not lost that much time, maybe just a couple of attempts. Again, we're going to come through to that really fast left-hander, which really have a lot of trouble with, and you can see again we do it okay, but we run a little bit wide, and I just about save it. I went too fast into it in that time in 5th gear. What I started doing towards the later races was just taking less speed through by downshifting to 4th and then just keeping the foot flat down, and it was maintaining about 109 miles per hour. It wasn't quite as fast if you got it perfect, but it was more consistent, and then I was just able to consistently get like 37 zeros, 37 2s and 36 9s and stuff. So it was just a better way to do it. As you can see there, really scruffy lap, 4 seconds over our best lap. So, and we're only 3.7 seconds behind the leader, so it shows you how much time we lost in just one lap. But unfortunately, not much you can do about it. Now we're going to just try and put some pressure on P3 and get back into some sort of battle and see if we can make a top 3 somehow, as the top 2 are really getting close together, and that's good because when they're battling we can start gaining. But obviously if I'm going to start gaining on P3, we're going to start battling and losing time also. So a really fun race, 2 different races kind of going on at this point, as I have a massive moment. You could see I starting to lose control at this stage. You can see the tyre wear is really kicking in. And look at this now, as I come through this corner, put it into slow motion because I have a massive moment now. Watch this, as we go through the corner I get full on sideways, and I do not know how I held that. I was really lucky not to spin out, but we managed to just about hold it and keep the power down reasonably okay, so we didn't lose too much time as we carry on watching from the replay camera. As you can see there, not a massive loss of time, but that was a really scary moment. The car just went completely sideways with the tyres starting to fade out, and I must have put the power down just a fractionally too early, and fortunately we managed to hold the drift going through the corner and just about kept it on the track. So it was quite nice to watch that, the way the car was sliding around the corner. It looked really good, and I did enjoy that moment after, when I thought, geez, I thought I was going to crash, and when I saved it I was quite happy that I saved that. So you can see there now, look how close it's getting now. P1 and P2 are really battling away. P3 is very close to myself there. I'm in the slipstream pretty much now, so I can start putting some pressure on him and see if we can make him buckle somewhere under the pressure that I'm going to give him. But you know, again, it was so hard to get any sort of overtaking done on this track. If the guy in front was defending well and driving well, it was really hard. As again, he has a little moment going through that corner. Look how twitchy everyone's car's getting now at this stage of the race. I don't know what other assist other people would be running. I think I may have put traction control to level 1 after that drift that I did through that corner, because I thought I'm not having that again. So I might have put traction control to level 1 just to get a bit more consistency, as obviously with my first race it was just a little bit tricky. By the last races I had it off all the way through because it was just easier. As you can see there, I got really close, but I decided to back out. I ended up cutting that corner a bit, and I think I got a time penalty when I did that, which was really frustrating. And it could have been either from that bit or when I ran wide. I turned into the corner because I lifted to give him space and make sure that I could get a clean entry. I turned in too early and it gave me a penalty, so really frustrating that I got that time penalty. But I wasn't too worried. It was only a small one. I think it was like 2 seconds worth of time penalty, and obviously the guy in front's got a time penalty, so at this point you don't know what each of us got in terms of time penalty, because it wasn't any sort of collision between us. It was just time penalties for cutting. But going into this corner again, this is where I was really struggling with the brake bias I was running. You can see a lot of people were able to pull out on me quite a bit through these corners, but this time I've managed to really attack that, and actually we've caught up a little bit on this lap, and we're going to try and put some pressure on. I do love watching this view where you can see the car from behind looking back. You can see that our car ghosted again. It's something that's been happening a lot in the game recently, and I don't really like it. It's frustrating when you're seeing them doing it, because I've actually been overtaken because the car's just gone straight through me and basically just carried on. Obviously no penalty, nothing, just gone on and got past me. It was a bit frustrating because, you know, it's taking some of the overtaking out of the game, and what's frustrating is though, if it doesn't ghost, they're just going to hit you. So I think they need to look at that, because people are starting to exploit it, and I'll be able to show you the race it was done in later tonight. Obviously we didn't upload yesterday, which I have to apologise for. With the issues with this footage, with it skipping and stuff, I had to just go back and keep switching the camera, and it took a lot longer than I wanted to do, and then I had the FIA race to do, and I just didn't get time to go over it and edit it all. So we got it sorted. As you can see there, I wanted to make a move there, but he had an issue, and I had to keep the input in while I was putting the accelerator down, and we had a massive moment, and unfortunately again we've lost that time we've gained, because we were going to make a move, but he had an issue in front, so I had to get out of the put a lot of steering angle in to avoid hitting him. But we're into P3 now, because P2 or P1, wherever he was, has disconnected after having a crash, I think, or an incident. It looked like he was on the side of the road and something had happened, but he's disconnected himself and left the lobby. So we're now in the top 3 place, and we're going to try and put some pressure on now P2, because I really wanted that P2. P1's too far away. We've only got 1 lap after this lap to go, as we're going to go through this final corner. I really need to try and make sure I get this reasonable nice entry and exit on this corner. So again, trying to turn in early, going down to 4th gear. You can see there, a little bit safer way to do it. We can't carry as much speed because we've got traction control on the weakest setting, but I did it for safety at this stage. I think if I got through, obviously at the end of the last few races I took it off all the way through, because it was losing me time on acceleration. You'll see coming out of corners like this, they were able to, obviously if you haven't got traction control on, they pull away slightly, but you can see there we're very close now to the guy in front, so I'm going to start putting some real pressure on. Unfortunately not a very good lap again, where we had that issue where we tried to get on the power and we had to back out. Looking down the inside, I was thinking about it, but I decided to back out of that. It wasn't worth trying to make a move there. We were too far back, and you can't make a move from that far back. I've seen a lot of people do them type of moves, but it's not a sensible move. The guy in front will end up getting hit, and you both will end up with penalties. So I try to avoid that, and then trying to stay as close again. You can see P1's actually seems to be struggling a bit with the tyre wear. Also, this car was really tricky at the last stages. Obviously, once you got used to it and you've done a fair few races, you learn how to obviously drive the car reasonably consistent with the tyres like this. But when it was your first race, it was really tricky. As you can see there again, I was being really cautious through that corner after that massive drift that we had. And the one traction on the weakest setting didn't really do much. It did a bit, but it didn't do that much. As you can see there now, we're going to switch the camera angles. The guy's flashing up ahead. I don't know if he's doing that on purpose. He just seems to be flashing all the time, but unless he's using the control pad, and it was set to the bottom, which is close to it, I'm not sure. But you can see I had a little look there. I was going to go down the right hand side, and then had a little look on the inside, but realised I backed out of that. You could see I backed completely out of it. I was looking at it, but I decided it wasn't worth risking that there. I'd rather stay in his slipstream and try and make a move somewhere else on the track. I was having a little look up here now. You can see I'm going to have a little look on the left hand side because I got started to get a really strong slipstream. So I was going to decide to have a little look here and see if I could make a move on the inside going into this fast left hander. But I feel like we have a little move there. We have a little look, and we're nearly side by side, but he shuts the door on that, and I have to give him the space, and he stays in that P2. As we're going onto the back straight now, the final lap, I'm trying to get on the power really early. You can see there, but the rears are really struggling at this stage. But we've got quite a good toe now on P2, and we're starting to work our way all the way to the end of the straight. So are we going to be able to make a move into this corner? I was thinking about it. You can see I'm having a little look. I have a little look here now, but then I decide it's not worth it. What I'll do is I'll lift early and just try and take a clean corner. He panics a bit and tries to carry too much speed. We get past, and we're now into P2. However, we've got to get rid of that penalty. So it's whoever, he's got a penalty, I've got a penalty. So it's down to who can judge this, or who's got the least penalty when they come to the line. Obviously, I've got 1.6 seconds to get rid of, and we're going to come up to the line now, and I'm going to just have to slam on. So I moved over to the left to make sure that he wasn't going to follow me. He'd stay on the inside. I braked really hard, and the penalty just didn't seem to decrease that fast. It was really strange, and he obviously managed to get rid of his, and he gets that P2. But a really enjoyable race, a bit frustrating with the penalties that we got, but we obviously made them mistakes, so that's why we got them. Nothing you can really do about that. And it was a fun race to be involved with. A really tricky car, and some great racing, some really good power slides in that race. I enjoyed being in it. I had a few great saves, one on that the 130R, and also that drift that we did were great saves. And so a really fun race. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It's something different again on the channel. Obviously, I do like doing the Group 3 and Group 4 and Group 2 races, etc. But it's nice to have something a little bit harder to drive, a little bit more, drifty, and it's great fun. It does make good videos when you've got other people that are racing with respect and are driving it also. It's great fun. So anyway, guys, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you give myself a subscription. I do try and upload every day, and did miss yesterday's first day. I've missed it in quite a few months, but I'm going to try and get a double upload done today. So make sure you subscribe and click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Like I say, tonight's video is going to be the FIA round 6, I think it is, at BB Raceway, and that'll be hopefully done on the channel later tonight. So make sure you check that out later, everyone. Thanks again for watching.